Welcome to Dogs of War game, YouTube channel. Today we're doing a pack review of...
A Dire Message.
Okay.
The last chapter pack in the current cycle for Game of Thrones.
Okay. And we have Angelo.
How you doing, guys?
Jesus. And Tree.
Hello.
I apologize right now to all the religious people out there.
Yeah, Jesus.
The Messiah has come.
I don't know. So, let's start off.
Yeah, so we're going to kick this off here. We've got Robert Baratheon. This is one of the most... Actually, when's the last time we saw Robert Baratheon? It's been a while, right?
It's been a few minutes.
Yeah. So, good to see old Bob coming back. He's a 4-cost Baratheon character, obviously. He's unique. He's got 4 strength. He is a mill power icon. He's a lord and a king. He has prize 2, and he has renown. His response reads... After you win a challenge in which a prize character participated, Robert Baratheon claims 1 power. And oh my god, the artwork on this card is fantastic.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so Nedley, right? Rob always hated having the throne. He never liked it. He always complained about how insufferable it was to sit on there and how much he much preferred winning the throne than actually being king. And here you see him being all miserable, sitting on the Iron Throne with his giant warhammer like, man, I wish I was out just swinging this at people again.
One question, too. In the picture, you see the Iron Throne that it extends to in the footing.
Yep. There's
still spikes down there. Is it that in the books or just the throne?
In the books, it's described as being all of the swords that were used when Aegon conquered Westeros. There's a picture out there. I think someone did it on it's on DeviantArt somewhere, where it's a picture of Joffrey on the throne, and it looks to be about 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's massive.
So that's one of those things where the show and the books very much so differ. I think in the show it's supposed to be more symbolic, whereas in the book it's literally every single sword that was used.
And the flavor text goes back to that too, so it's fantastic. So let's talk about the card though. So of course you have to compare this against Double Renown Bob. I mean that's the standard Bob that everybody's going to compare him to, and I like him for other reasons too. Double Renown Bob is good, but he does all the work himself. So you have to win a challenge with him to get the Double Renown. With him, there's a lot of prize cards out there now. There's a lot of prize characters in Baratheon specifically. And he claims the power every time one of them, wins a challenge. So, in theory, you could claim 3 additional power on him a turn just simply by having him participate in a challenge, wins for himself, gets renown, and then you win an intrigue and another challenge as well. They'll have prize characters in them.
Does Baratheon have a prized character that has intrigue? I know they have
sure.
them with military and power. I just don't know if they have a prized.
I don't know if we've seen an intrigue yet. That might be one of the things that might be missing. But even then, though, he still nets out claiming more power unless you can restand the other Bob.
Right.
So, there's something to be said about that. Interesting, he's the 4-cost, so we know in the next cycle that becomes a really important thing. It's unfortunate he's a king. Turns off Stannis, which, you have to, now you're making the decision, do I run Stannis or do I run this guy? I think depending on your deck type, Stannis may be a better choice, but there's places where he would be a better choice as well. If any house can do the best with prize right now, I think it's Baratheon. They've gotten the most support for it seems like, and just general purpose effects.
But it's weird because in the prize card, the support they've gotten for prize cards, I think they've got some of the least count on prized characters.
It could be.
I was looking at it the other day. I think it was them and maybe House Stark had the least prized characters.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and take a look. But they've got some good ones.
Oh, absolutely.
So I like him. I think he may start overshadowing Double Renown Bob in some decks. I think if you're going for the long game and not necessarily the rushy kind of style game, he becomes more.
Do you think that he'll work in the rushing? I know his cost is expensive, but
that's the problem. I think cost. He's the same cost as the other Bob.
All of the Robert Baratheons are 4 cost.
Yeah, but I think the other Bob just has more output.
Do you think it will work on a rushy deck?
I think the other Bob plays better in a rushy deck just because the lack of the Lord trait, or lack of the King trait on him, means that your Stannis, presumably you're running the Stannis that gains Vigilance, Stealth, and Renown, I believe, and is immune to locations, because that Stannis just runs all over the board.
So yeah, I mean, he's good. And, we've even seen the one card that came out a couple packs ago, the Smuggler, discard all power on a character after you play a prize character. So, I mean, you could trigger it off of him again. So, a lot of stuff you can trigger off the prize effect.
I got, I guess we only have one Baratheon guy.
Yep, only one.
It's a big one.
Robert's so big that he only takes 2 slots.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I got a 2-cost Greyjoy Raider of Orkwood. Strength 2, military, prize 1. He's a Raider trait. While Raider of the Orkwood is participating in a challenge, character with more than 1 icon do not count their strength. And I think this is the last one of those.
Yep.
Like I said, we've been talking about this type of cards for a while. They're good. Military, this is what Greyjoy does the best. It makes them unopposed challenges and helps them make it easier.
Does not make them unopposed. They just do not count their strength.
If there's 0 strength in the challenge,
that's right.
Is it considered unopposed?
Yeah,
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So I think it's very, very good, and it's the Raider trait. I think that's
the only thing I was going to say.
So,
add to that was the Raider trait is fantastic.
The downside being there are more monocon military icons in the game than anything else.
Oh, military.
Yep,
you're right.
So we've seen even in the Stark one, it's going to be the hardest to trigger. Not saying it's going to be super hard, but it is the hardest to trigger.
But if they have some strength monocons, maybe this guy sits back on defense and forces them to only attack with certain characters.
And plus, you can pump straight Raiders anyway. So I mean,
also Greyjoy and Stark have no trouble winning military to start with.
Exactly. No, good. I think he's at least a 2 of, if not a 3 of, in most Raider-based decks. I mean, he's just like Wex Pike. You can't defend against me 9 times out of 10. So, and as we've seen with some other cards coming up. Oh, you got the cards out of order. So as we've seen with some of the other Greyjoy cards coming up, he's going to be even more important soon.
Yeah.
So.
Oops, we skipped one.
All right, so it looks like I'm reviewing Flame and Shadow. This is the other Baratheon card in the pack. Bob apparently does not take up as much space as you thought.
I thought.
Flame and Shadow is a House Baratheon only event. It is prize 2. And during the marshalling phase, you kneel 2 influence to choose a non-army character without attachments. Take control of that character until the end of the challenges phase.
So good.
So yeah, Baratheon gets a... this one is basically a free version of Melisandre's Favor. Everything that card did, this card will do for 0 cost and 2 influence. Actually, they have to be no attachments. So I believe Melisandre's Favor can grab people with attachments. So you run... What?
Well, Melisandre's Favor is an attachment anyway, so if there are no attachments, you still can't grab them. So same thing.
So between this and Melisandre's Favor, you can take whichever character you want, except for an army, apparently.
I think this brings back Baratheon Hollow Hill by itself. Baratheon Hollow Hill got hit heavily in the last sets of FAQs and stuff like that.
It got hit by one FAQ and basically almost unhit in the next one.
Yeah. But I think this will start to see it come back again. Event recursion is so easy out of Baratheon as it is already. And now I can do the 2 things that Baratheon wants. I can give you power, so I have something to steal, and I'm going to take your dude. I can sack your dude to Harrenhal before I give it back. I can kill it for military claim. I can win a challenge with it also. I think this is a fantastic card.
I agree. I think that, again, this is another one of those cards where, we're seeing more and more cases where prized on events is really just a good thing because it's netting you the option to take power.
Yeah.
And I think it forces people back to the idea, if you're not already running paper shields or some other type of cancel, you have to go back to that because the only counter to these cards is that if I play it and you counter it, I've given you 2 power for no effect. And that's the only thing that keeps them remotely balanced. So, all right. So we're going to Orkwood Captain. This is the next Greyjoy card in the pack. Yes, now we're back in order. He's 3 cost, 3 strength, mill power with naval on both, which is fantastic. He's Ironborn and Captain. He is prized 1. After you win a challenge in which Orkwood Captain participated as an attacker, kneel all locations controlled by the defending player. Not a lot to be said about this guy than the fact he's good. I mean, Greyjoy naval is the thing. They like having more naval icons. It's always good. He's prize 1, so he's not like a huge risk to put on the board. His response is great. There's a lot of locations out there that can be annoying. And, it's perfect for Greyjoy, more location control, why not?
Yeah. So. He fits greatly in, awesome in Black Sails with his double naval. He's not a Raider, which is kind of disappointing, but he's Ironborn, so he can trigger some of the stuff.
Yes, he can.
Yeah, I think he's very, very good.
He's just an all-around general good dude. I mean, you'll see him in Greyjoy Black Sails, which is still a pretty good deck right now, so, not bad.
Yeah. I think he's kind of one of those middle of the road kind of guys where he's not crazy overpowered, but he's got solid effects.
So you'll be playing what, 2 of or 3 of?
If you're playing Black Sails, you'll probably play at least 2.
If you're not,
Black Sails got to be. I think I probably play 3 in Black Sails just to make sure I've got the naval.
Get one of them at least.
And 2 if you don't, or do you play it non-naval?
I'd have to see what else is in my deck at Black Sails because he does a lot of the stuff that Greyjoy already does. I'd have to look and see if he does it better than the ones I'd be currently running.
Yeah, I think the big thing for him is there's not a lot of double naval icon dudes out there. So to have it on both is useful when you're trying to get that one trigger off. Because there's nothing worse than playing against a deck that can just take away an icon that has your naval enhancement, then you're done.
Yeah.
In this case, they'd have to take away both. So.
Okay, we got 10 towers. A Greyjoy, 3 costs, stronghold. Has response. After you win an unopposed challenge, kneel 10 towers to discard X cards from the top of the losing player's deck. X is the amount of strength by which you won the
This card
challenge.
is so good.
It's amazing.
Do you have to build a deck around it?
Yes, you build a mill deck. This single-handedly enables Greyjoy Mill to now be a competitive deck.
Competitive.
So you House of Dreams this in, and Greyjoy just got Wick. Wick stands this back up so you can trigger it twice in one turn.
Yep. There's some neat tricks you can do. People were talking about running Trebuchet, which is the Lannister card out of house that adds X strength to all of your characters in the challenge, where X is the number of cards in your hand.
Yep.
Have a big hand, swing with 3 guys, win a challenge by 30 plus,
And mill half their
and
deck.
mill 30 cards off the top of their deck.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's there's some silly interactions here.
I mean, 2 to 3 turns, you're decked. I mean, seriously, you're playing a Greyjoy Raider deck that gets unopposed challenges all day long, or even the new dude who just doesn't count any strength.
Yeah.
I mean, Wex Pike, there's a million things out there that can, enable this effect. And now, all of a sudden, you're milling cards. And then we already saw heads on pikes, so I'm going to be killing your dudes at the same time. Now I'll play heads on pikes, and you'll mill
Greyjoy's
more
got
cards.
plenty of other mill effects as well that do 2 and 3 cards at a time.
Exactly.
Do you think Greyjoy Maesters might be a thing to run the Mill Maester plus plus this?
I think mill is going to be very, very strong because there's no way to come back from it. Once your deck is in your discard pile, there's not a lot of ways to get most of that stuff out unless you're playing
Corset, Barristan,
a
Selmy.
few specific cards or houses that, and even then, their recursion effects outside of like Barristan Selmy are 1 or 2 cards here and there.
Yep.
I just milled 45 cards off your deck, and you've already probably played 15 by that point in time between your setup hand, marshalling on the first turn, and everything else, and draw.
Yeah, you're probably at about 13, 14 cards.
I mean, God help you if a Rivers player runs into this, he's screwed. Oh, you triggered crossing. That's cute. You drew half your deck. I'll mill the rest of it out. I think it's a great card. I mean, it's a fantastic House of Dreams location. I like the fact they made it a 3-cost unique because that is House of Dreams right there. Yep. So.
And again, it's one of those things where once someone mills out your deck and they valor you, then you're pretty much if you don't have dudes in your hand, you're done. We've seen it before. It's a crusher when someone gets to like 13 power and has no more cards and no more deck.
Oh, wow.
At that point, you just can't win. Sir Balon Swann, new version of the unique character. This is a Shadows 0, so he costs 2 to put in the Shadows, 0 to bring him out. He is a 2 strength military icon, intrigue icon. He's a Kingsguard. He's a knight. He's House Lannister only. He's no attachments. And response: after Sir Balon Swann comes out of Shadows, each opponent with 4 or more cards in hand chooses and discards from his hand a card.
Love the art.
Very cool piece of art. I don't remember Balon Swann doing archery in the books, but that's okay.
I like how they try to make it look like the Kingsguard are still this very pure and great entity when Cersei has completely corrupted the hell out of them.
So on the card itself, I misread this one the first time and thought it was rule by decree on a guy, and that would be stupid. But it's not. It's 1 card, and they choose. I think it's an okay effect. I think it's great if you're running Sir Preston Greenwood, or Greenfield, whatever it is. So you can flip him in and out of Shadows like twice a turn.
I mean, the problem is the 4 cards is the issue, right? Because if you're playing a Lannister deck right, unless you're playing against a deck that's drawing a crap ton of cards every turn, I've already seen Rivers have kind of gone away now, so the crazy amount of draw has kind of calmed down again from at least that part of it. So, and the fact they get to pick. If it's still like a regular intrigue challenge, that'd be a lot better. But I mean, you're gonna look at your hand and go, "I'm just gonna chuck this 0-cost limited gold location or something,"
However, you should also know this is each opponent. So in a melee game, you can annoy everybody with this.
If you want to die quick in a melee, just do this a lot.
And of course, it's good that it's considered a discard. We know there's Lannister cards that get better if opponents discard a card from their hand. So I mean, we get some of that effect. He enables Jaime, which is fantastic. He can.
Is he better in his previous version?
The previous version lets you, is I believe, 2 or 3 strength and can defend intrigue challenges even when he's knelt. I don't know that he's better than that.
They have different places in the deck.
This guy's much better than the other one against burn. The no attachments is always a good thing against burn.
The other interesting thing is I've dabbled in City of Shadows in the last few months, and the one thing I've always wanted to do with City of Shadows is really make it almost a core pure Lannister deck that just splashes in some shadow cards from other houses. And unfortunately, there's not enough of them right now in Lannister that are good to be able to do that. So you really end up running a large variety of Shadows cards from other houses instead, and getting another good dude just in general. And he's got the icons that Lannister wants. Mill Intrigue is always something I want to see. So
he's another free Shadows guy. He's great for tunnels. So I can see this being better in certain decks than the old Balon Swann.
I agree.
And it fits a different spot. So
yeah. All around good card. All right, so here's the most controversial card in the pack.
Oh,
Wheels Within Wheels.
The most controversial guy.
It's an event.
Doesn't think it's OP.
House Lannister only. Prize 2. Any phase. Kneel unique Lannister character to choose and reveal a new plot card. And it's got an awesome piece of artwork of Cersei on the front of it.
I like it.
So
her neck looks weird.
Yes, you got a crazy neck. It feeds up to like the top of her head.
yes. So this card is obviously highly controversial. There are people who are already screaming it should be banned, let alone restricted. I'm gonna give my reasons why I feel like it's a fairly balanced card, and then we can sit here and argue about it for 5 minutes if we need to. So as we've already discussed, though, there's a huge risk right now in playing prized events. You play the event, you satisfy all the correct facts to trigger the event, which in this case is I'm healing a unique Lannister character out, and then it gets paper shielded, or it gets hit by the one that just came out, Royal Decree, or it get canceled by any other number of effects out there that cancel, triggered effects and events, right? And then I fed you 2 power, knelt out a unique character, and got no benefit from it. Now, what can you break with this? Well, obviously it's a plot cycling card. We've seen plot cycling can be a powerful mechanic, but I think it's only a powerful mechanic in the effect that you can consistently do it multiple times in a single turn, which with this you are not going to do. At the best, this lets you do crazy things like, marshal first turn, kneel out one of your uniques that you either set up or put into play during the marshaling phase, and then flip into Fear of Winter. Now, the benefit from that, yes, you've got board presence, they're marshaling one card, that's the end of it, but based upon their setup, and based upon that one card they're putting into play, that could or could not work in your benefit, because you have to be first player to do it. And the best case is, they don't marshal anything that can stop you, you get 1 round of unopposed challenges, and they Valor next turn, and you've just lost your entire board. And now you're down cards, they're up cards because they couldn't play anything, and now you're in a worse position than they were, and, so now there are some balances there. Now
I will counter that with the next turn you flip Outwit, cancel out their thing, and play another Wheels Within Wheels to play in a much better plot.
Assuming you have another Wheels in your hand, and assuming you have a Knowledge crest on the board, a Learn crest on the board. So, I mean, it can be there. Now,
they're there.
A lot of people on the forums and stuff like that have been talking that the best way to run this is probably going to be in a Lannister Defiance deck that's either running Maesters or something like that. I could see that. You give a huge amount of plots that you can flip into. You kind of want that utility with this card. I don't think that you run it in cities a lot. I mean, there could be sometimes you'd want to do it. But, I mean, if you think about it, though, cycling cities, a lot of times you don't want to cycle into a specific city until you can... their board meets the requirement for where you want to play that. I don't want to kneel 3 dudes if you only got 2 dudes on the board. No. I don't want to flip in a city of soldiers if there's nobody on the board I can kill.
Then don't play your Wheels Within Wheels.
I agree. But then it's a dead card in your hand, right? So now it's just sitting there.
No, it's not.
So
it's waiting for the right time.
And then again, the unique character part is the other rough side of this, right? You have to have a unique Lannister character in play. You've already seen that most decks have strayed away from running anything other than one of uniques nowadays. Even a lot of Lannister decks you've been seeing winning competitions are only running 1 Cersei, for God's sakes, and she's one of the most powerful cards in the game, let alone in Lannister. And 1 Tywin, 1 Tyrion, So the penalty is still there. I think the best card you play this with is Jaime, because he stands himself, standing Jaime. So at the end of the marshalling phase, you could then stand him back up and do it. I think you can use it outside the marshalling phase, too. I think there's some other interesting things you can do there. There are certain cards that you can flip into like plots that don't, non-unique characters can't stand or whatever it is at the end of the standing phase and stuff like that. So there might be some interesting things you can do there too. I don't think it's broken. I don't think it deserves a restricted list. Lannister's got so many fantastic cards already on the restricted list. They're not Martell restricted, but at what point do you give them something to keep them in the competitive space? And I think that's what this was designed to do.
All right. I haven't played with this yet, so I'm going to restrict a lot of what I have to say until I've actually had a chance to play with it, play against
Hopefully
it.
this week, next weekend.
Yes. I think Lannister has a lot of cheap uniques they'll be able to play this with. I don't think no one in the right mind is going to kneel out their Cersei or their Tywin or even their Jaime, really, I think, to play it, even if it's the standing Jaime. I think you're going to see Penny's knelt for this. You're going to see Podrick Payne's knelt for this. And I think that any set of plots gets better with this card. I don't think it sees play in Defiance. I don't think Defiance sees that much play, honestly. I think that you're going to see Lannister take down a major tournament with this, and it probably does hit the restricted list. Because someone is going to break this card wide open.
I mean, Lannister has no event recursion either, so you're only going to play him 3 times, and that's it.
3 cycle plus can be enough.
It could be. I mean, but we've seen the plot cycling that breaks the game though is the ones that it's just a chain. And I'm flipping through 8 plots in a turn.
That builds to combo decks.
Yeah.
There's build to combo decks that do things with that. That doesn't require combo. I can throw this into any Lannister deck that has at least has a bunch of unique characters in it, and flipping through my plots more often than my opponent is just good.
But here's the last thing to consider too. Lannister actually has some of the best events in the game. What do you cut to play that? Are you really going to take out Harry the Riverlands, for example? Are you going to take out any of the Neil effects that we already have in Lannister that are so powerful? I mean, that's the thing you have to balance out, right? Is what am I cutting out of my deck now to slot in this card? So, and it's going to be a 3-of. You're never going to run 1 or 2 of them. You're going to run all 3.
I disagree. I think you can run 1 or 2 of that card and be fine.
Consistent draw, though.
It's not something you build your deck around.
Because Lannister has a lot of draw already. So.
Yeah, you have plenty of draw. You're going to see it. If you're on 2-of, you're going to see at least 1 in a game.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
So, you say after Worlds is going to get restricted?
Absolutely.
The
You
current,
say no?
Actually,
We'll see.
the current board speak is they're thinking they're going to restrict it before Worlds even happens.
No, I don't think.
The next FAQ is in October. They think it's going to hit the list before FAQ.
I don't think they have the. I don't think there's any justification to do that.
I agree, but that's what everybody's screaming for is restrict it before Worlds.
If that happens, will this be the first time this ever happened in AGOT?
What's that? A card's been restricted before
Before it
Worlds?
comes out?
No, it was not restricted before it came out. It's come out.
No, but before a major tournament, I guess.
I don't know. I've only been playing for a year, so I'd have to go back and look. But I mean, the thing is I don't even necessarily think there's a need for an FAQ before Worlds. Nothing was broken at Gen Con. I've seen the reports. There was no crazy combo running around that was seriously broken. There was no hella broken cards that are in the meta right now.
And how many more Martell cards can you restrict?
The Viper. That's about it.
Just like Castellan has never come off off the list, the Viper is never going on.
All right.
And I'm not a big fan of them making a judgment of the meta for just one tournament, especially since this is one tournament prior to another restriction, another FAQ.
The problem is they do 4. Is it 4 FAQs a year or 3?
4. Going every quarter, it seems like.
Yeah, so it's 4, and the only one that's based off of more than one tournament, really, it seems, is the one that comes after regionals.
After regional, which is you get a good.
I think that's where you probably get the best feel for what the state of the meta is.
Yep.
Because basing off a single tournament from Gen Con or from Worlds is going to be a very skewed, perception.
Unless something was horribly dominant and they just had to do something about it, which didn't happen at Gen Con this year. I mean,
not like last year with Matoshi.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we have a 2-cost location for Martell called Unique, the Boneway. It's a Dorn response. After an opponent's play or reveals a prize card, each player chooses up to 3 characters he or she controls. All characters not chosen are returned to their owner's hand. So, I think it's good.
There's an interesting rules implication here, in that when it says after your opponent plays or reveals, that means the opponent has to control the reveal effect. So you can't, if you hit a, like for example, Much and More, you'll reveal the top 4 cards of each card. If you get a prize card on that, this does not trigger.
Yep.
Oh.
So, my opinion, this is designed for the next cycle. So the new agenda in the next cycle is, once per turn, reduce a character of cost 4 or higher by 2. All characters cannot be returned to your hand that are reduced in this way. So, you play all the awesome Martell characters that cost $4 or more, put them all into play, get yourself up over the character count, and then all those dudes can't ever go back to your hand because they can't be hit by this. So there could be some very interesting ways to kind of maybe find some way to abuse this card in the future. Generally beyond that, though, this is kind of going back to the Carelite decks that Martell was trying to run. And I don't necessarily know that those decks are even viable anymore. If they were, this would go in because, you want to bounce more dudes back to the hand. But
I see this as being also playable with things like House Messenger, Planky Town Orphan, Flea Bottom Scavenger. If you're running a way to keep low power on your house. Basically just cards, the Carmine of Play effects that are going to be pretty good. Because you just choose them don't choose them so they go back to your hand.
So do you see it affecting the meta right now? Or?
No. You might see a little splash in some Martell decks, but probably not much.
I mean, you could argue it's, okay, if we want to get really kind of funny here, you could screw over people who are trying to play Wheels Within Wheels, I suppose. I mean, oh, you're going to Wheels me? Well, turn all those characters back to your hand that you haven't.
Well, but the thing is that, they get to pick, basically it's kind of like Wildfire. Everybody picks their 3 best characters and keeps them.
You could use it to save yourself from Valor. You could play your own prized event. And then,
after an opponent plays or reveals a prize card.
Oh, it's an opponent, that's right.
And presumably from between the time where they reveal Valor and Valor triggers, they're not playing or revealing any prize cards.
True.
Unless, yeah, no, I don't think there's any way to do that.
Nope. All right, Tree.
Actually, one more thing on that question. Plots are revealed, aren't they?
Yeah.
So this would trigger off
and all the
this would
plots
trigger
are
off
prized.
plot cards because Defiance says they gain it when they go to the used pile.
Yeah, so it would have to
So
be
there'd have to be an actual
prize
prized
plots.
event.
Which, hey,
Oh,
there's
wow, prized
some
plot.
of them in this pack are coming up.
They're prized.
Late with Lions.
Oh yeah, that one, yeah. So there's one. All right, it's me now, right?
Yep.
Okay. Locked in a Cell is a House Martell only prized 2 events. Any phase, kneel 3 influence or kneel a noble character to choose a character without a crest. Return that character to its owner's hand.
Gaston Grey is an event.
Yes, absolutely. I like it very much. If you play it with Gaston Grey, you get to kneel your noble character to return someone to their hand. Then you bounce that noble character to bounce another character. And they've got plot. They now have 2 power for you to steal.
And if anybody can get this out of the discard pile and play it again, guess who it is? The Martells.
Baratheon.
Martells.
Martell as well.
It's a good card.
I like it. I think it's a great way. It's a great control card. It plays into the Martell influence heavy. It plays into Martell nobles.
Would you, if this card would have been available, would you play it on your regional deck?
Probably one as a 2 of.
2 of?
Just to get the double use out of being able to use, like, as an example, the noble Myrcella to bounce, because there's no cost limit, just a crest limit. So tap Myrcella to bounce like a 5-cost guy, or to bounce a I don't know, something big.
This would have helped you
to
against...
bounce Daenerys, Miss Dragon.
This would have helped you against Aaron
Yes.
with his double dupe Daenerys.
And I also like that this is an any phase action, which means you can do it before you get to the challenges phase, which is one of the weaknesses of Gaston Grey, if it really has weaknesses.
Yep.
So overall, I think it's pretty good. I think you'll see it in Martell decks because again, it plays into the 2 of the bigger ones, which are influence based, which is kind of either your character light or just your slightly event heavier decks, and it plays into any deck that's running Gaston Grey.
All right, next up, we are moving into House Stark now. We've got Northern Clansman. This is a 2-cost, non-unique Stark character. He's 2 strength, mill power, Bannerman Clansman, and this is one of the new multi-house characters. If you control a Baratheon character, Northern Clansman gains renown. If you control a Lannister character, Northern Clansman gains stealth. I'll honestly make this quick. I don't think these guys will ever see play.
I think it's interesting to note that if you play the multi-house Hound and the multi-house Brienne, he gets all those things.
Yeah.
Neither of those is immune to plot plot cards like the other versions of these guys we've seen. The is it Greyjoy and Martell ones. I agree with you.
I mean, he doesn't help the Clansman sub-theme at all because he's a House Stark. And as a Lannister player, I've looked at Stark numerous times, and there's never been a reason I've thought, wow, I should really play a multi-house deck that includes Stark dudes.
Yeah.
So not even in your 59...
No, he doesn't even go in the 59 dudes deck. The 59 dudes wants quality dudes, and this is not a quality
He's
dude.
not a quality dude.
So,
Sorry to say. Sorry, Northern Clansman.
Stay north.
Shall we move on?
yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's
move on
continue.
to good Stark characters.
Okay, 3-cost Blackwood Elite. It's a Stark. Strength 6, House Tully and Army. Has a military and a power icon. It's price 2, no attachments, deadly, renown. Blackwood Elite must be chosen for a military claim if able. I think this is great.
So we were talking about this yesterday,
the word
right?
Absurd comes to mind when I read this card.
This, in my opinion, when the prize mechanic was first talked about, is what I pictured a prize card being. A lot of the stuff we've seen, it feels like prize was just tacked on, and we gave an ability. I mean, arguably, Dany deserves prize. I mean, no argument there, right? But this is what I think about when I think about a prize card. I mean, he's twice the strength for his cost. He's got 3 fantastic keywords, technically, because he has no attachments, deadly, and renown. I mean, he's just great.
He's got 2 good traits, Army and House Tully.
So, I mean, the downside being, yeah, of course, if you actually happen to lose a military challenge as Stark, which, now that we've seen the guys who, make you not count your strength if you get more than 1 icon, which, hey, this guy has 2, could be doable.
I've seen it happen. Usually you have to go big to win a military against Stark, but you can win it.
Yep.
So this guy will go away eventually, and your opponent will get 2 power for it, but the time you've got him out, he's
Yeah, I mean...
deadly on a 6 strength guy is just like... Give me unopposed.
So, by the way, this does go into the 59 dudes deck. This is a very good card.
So you would play all 3?
Yes, all 3 would go into the deck.
And it's non-unique.
Yes, that's what I would.
It's for 3. You spend 6 gold and put 2 of these into play, and just beg your opponent to do military challenges against you. Like, I'll block them. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, you could just leave these guys behind and just use them as defenders if you had to. I mean, you don't even attack with them. It's just like, okay, well, I've got 12 strength guaranteed every turn.
And note that if they attack you in military with only claim 1, you only have to lose one of them, because you have to choose one of them if able.
Yeah, I mean, they're all around great cards.
So, do you think this will fit into all Stark's decks?
Any Stark that's reliant upon winning the military challenge, which is most of them. So Stark Siege definitely wants them.
It.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not necessarily Stark No Agenda so much, but even then, I don't know what the slots look like in that deck all the time.
I think you can find space for 1 or 2 of these guys at least. Stark Tully loves it.
Yeah.
So you think with all these Tully cards been coming out, I think it's finally a viable deck?
I think someone's going to do something with it.
Well, let's not forget the next cycle revisits all those keywords, so Tully's, Clansman, and everything else. So if they do it like they're saying they're going to do it, not like we saw with the Kingsroad cycle, but with this next cycle, Tully should just keep getting better and better. So. All right.
Yeah, this is me.
Is this you?
Oh, I love this art.
All right. First of all, yes, amazing art on this card.
I want to play, man.
This is Mad King Aerys. He is 4 cost. He's unique. He has 4 strength. He has an intrigue icon and a power icon. He's a lord and a king. He is prized 1. He has renown, and he has the following text: Mad King Aerys cannot be killed unless an opponent controls a noble character or Sir Jaime Lannister. As a dominance action, you can kneel Mad King Aerys to choose and kill a noble character. Note, this is John Bruno's champion card from winning Joust in 2012. And he's a noble as well. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's the only thing I can say to this to start out is just holy crap, this card's amazing.
So
John Bruno is a noble too. So.
And yeah, absolutely.
Interestingly enough.
So if John Bruno is in play, then he'll be able to kill this guy.
If you're playing against John Bruno, he immediately kills him.
I think the best thing about this card actually is King. Honestly, I mean, Targaryen has one other king that barely sees play. I think the king trade in here is fantastic.
Are you saying that Viserys Targaryen rarely sees play? The one that kills attachments,
yes,
or the one that doesn't die to military claim, rarely sees play.
In our meta, I've seen him hit the board once, maybe twice.
Yeah, but our meta's not that big.
Well, again, though, I mean...
He goes in every Targaryen deck as a one-of just because, for no other reason than to kill attachments or to not die to military claim.
Yeah, but another king is not bad.
Back to Mad King Aerys, who is a much better king than Viserys was. So he survives Valor unless your opponent has a noble in play. He can't be military claimed unless your opponent has a noble in play, or Jaime Lannister, who, granted, does see a lot of play. He kills the noble characters that make him vulnerable to Valor.
He can't kill Jaime,
but in dominance, though, is the problem. So he has to survive all the way through military to get to dominance to then kill a noble character.
That's what Viserys is there for.
Important
things to note that he is a king and he does not rely on being the only king in play.
Yep,
which is good.
He's also one of the very few history cards we've gotten. I was a little sad to see he didn't get the golden treatment like Rhaegar's Harp did and the Epic Battle did. But I think they've gotten away from that.
They said they weren't going to do them anymore.
Yeah.
Why?
They were originally supposed to represent rare cards from the original CCG era that they brought into the LCG, and they decided right after printing that was not a smart idea for them to do to continue this concept that these were ultra rare cards at some point in time.
Right.
So they got rid of the whole alternate border.
I kind of wish they had done it for history.
The legendary cards, essentially.
Because there wouldn't be many. There's Rhaegar, there was this card, there's Lyanna Stark.
So I want to talk about this from a design point of view real quick. I know I've had this discussion with probably both of you over the last year or so since I've been playing the game. The first text box on here, which is the interaction with Jaime Lannister, I would actually like to see FFG explore this more. There's a lot of characters in the game that have either their arch enemies or they're really good close people with that benefits should be gained if they're in play or lost, right? So we saw it with Podrick Payne and Tyrion. I'd love to see that as a mechanic in the game explored a lot more. Like, if you have this dude in play and this dude in play, they both benefit each other in some shape or fashion. Or in this case, they have a penalty to each other. Because there's a lot of history and lore that surrounds a lot of the characters in the world. And as a gameplay mechanic, I think that's fantastic. Because it encourages you to put those characters into a deck and build kind of around that kind of theme. And I think you could do some really fun effects with that.
I'll counter that with the fact that they've done it a few times, and I think the more they do it, the less special it is. So if they start printing cards like, this is Ned Stark. If Cersei Lannister's in play, he gets -3 strength. If Robert Baratheon's in play, he gains renown and deadly. If Catelyn Stark is in play, he gains something else. I think it's one of those things that the more you see of it, the less cool it is. So I think these rare occasions too where it's quintessential.
Maybe not just every interactive, but the big interactive. Like, this is a popular important thing that happened in the books. Jaime killing Mad Aerys. Spoilers. But those rare occasions, yes, I agree with Angelo. I think they're kind of cool.
I think they're
but not
there.
every little interaction.
I think they're there with it. With Padre Payne adding a military icon to Tyrion.
That's cool.
This one, I think if you see more than one or two of those a cycle, it becomes a lot less special and interesting.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think it's a great design mechanic.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like the flavor. Art is awesome. Good job, John Bruno, designing this card.
Yes. Kudos to him. I know.
Oh, and he's burning in the background. We didn't mention that.
Yeah,
But
is that John Bruno
That is
on
Bruno
fire?
in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, that's John Bruno.
They put
on
his
fire.
face in every card he designs. So.
Well, they put whoever
Is
designs
it
the
everybody?
card in the.
No, because House of Dreams, the guy did not get his picture put in there.
He's the guy standing in the back.
Oh, it's not House of Dreams, but the other one, the other location, Flea Bottom, isn't it? Isn't the Flea Bottom the other championship card?
maybe.
One of the cards, the guy had his face removed from the artwork or whatever because he didn't want it in there for whatever reason.
Oh,
so.
okay. That's player's choice.
But for the most part, yeah, they're in there.
See, and this is
By the way, the best of those is Arrogant Bastard, because whoever the card was, I'm sorry I don't know your name, they are the Arrogant Bastard in the picture, which is fantastic.
Also, this represents symbolism that Bruno is on fire, like literally in playing tournaments.
All right, I get stuck with another chud again. So this is Dragon Ambassador. This is a 2-cost, 2-strength military power bannerman for House Targaryen. If you control a Greyjoy character, gains deadly. If you control a Martell character, gains an intrigue icon. For those of you that have not read the spoilers from the upcoming book, this card will not make any sense to you whatsoever. But again, he's just another dude. I don't know this ever sees play. Again, I don't know that Targaryen ever really needs to ally with another house. I haven't seen any decent decks floating around that does it.
If he's the guy who turns on your Martell or Greyjoy, other Bannerman guys,
Yeah.
if nothing else, he's a Tricon with deadly.
Yeah.
It's funny how
You can use him
Targaryen-
with the Knight, because the Knight's the dual house Greyjoy Targaryen guy, so...
Oh,
no, Dragon Rider, Dragon Chaser, or
Dragon,
whatever his name is, yeah.
It's funny how Targaryen gives awesome power to the other guys, but the other guys don't give them that good of it.
So yeah, I just don't know. I mean, again, the Bannerman trait was something I was really excited when they started trying to explore it more, and then they just kind of didn't do much with it, you know? There's not a whole lot of effects that trigger off a Bannerman, and it was like one or two dudes here and there, and so I was kind of a little disappointed. That had been a really cool effect.
Again,
but
do you think you'll see play?
no, not anytime soon. Maybe if we ever see a reason for more of this concept of conquesting, using the conquest agenda, maybe. But again, I don't think enough stuff has come out. Like, I think you need better cards like this to make conquest more viable.
I don't think there's a reason to play that guy over Martell characters, Greyjoy characters, or Targaryen characters.
I mean, if this was a 4-cost, 3-strength dude that had both these benefits and then some awesome like other printed text on him that did something, I think those are the kind of cards you need to make conquest for playing characters like that really usable. Otherwise, you conquest to play like, you know, Lannister and Baratheon, so you get all the nobles in the game into play that are just stupidly good, you know?
Right. So I got an event. By the sword or by the guile?
Guile.
Guile.
Also, there's no thes in there.
Oh, oops. In Spanish, you added the before no. It's an event card, tactics, House Targaryen only. Response, after you win a military or intrigue challenge as the attacker, cancel the claim effects of that challenge, then move up to 3 powers from the losing player's house card to your house. Once per phase. This thing, I think, is wonderful.
It's the very first tactic event we've ever gotten, just as a heads up. So,
What do you mean? Tactic?
True. It's a new classification for events, so I thought that was pretty cool, which means we'll obviously see more of them coming in the future.
And it's a keyword from Call of Cthulhu. Let's see, tactics.
Yeah.
But back to the card. I think it's great. It's sometimes as Targaryen, like especially Burn, they already have your board clean and enter that military claim for 1 power. No, I'll get 3 power.
So I'm
I think it's
glad
very good.
that this was not the typical Targaryen card, which would have been a power intrigue challenge, because it would have made Heir to the Iron Throne even more brutal than it's currently becoming.
This does make Heir to the Iron Throne more brutal than it is.
Well, it does for the intrigue, but the fact you have to win a military, which Heir to the Iron Throne usually gives up their military nowadays and just goes for intrigue and power, you can't ever do the military challenge. So I like that from a balance standpoint, that at least this only fires off of 1 challenge running that agenda instead of 2 most times.
You only play 1 per phase, so who cares if you can do it more than once per turn?
But it lowers your options, is what I'm saying. So Targaryen Heir to the Iron Throne decks are notoriously going to win power challenges all the time. You're never really going to beat them in a power challenge. I like the fact you can't fire this off of that. I like the fact that they have to commit to their weaker challenge to do it. So,
but it's strong. They could get a potential of what? Claim 2.
You get 7 power.
You get 7, yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty big jump. This is probably going to be used like a 1 or 2 in Heir to the Iron Throne to finish out games.
You think Burn? I think Burn would play it too, or not?
I think absolutely. I think Burn could use it for their military
needs it
challenge.
desperately.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a card that Burn.
Burn is already a slow deck. This will, jump it up.
All right.
Another controversial card.
All right. So this is a neutral card, the Iron Throne. It's unique, like all the other Iron Thrones. It's a 2 cost. It has the Westeros traits. It's prize 2. The Iron Throne cannot stand during the standing phase or by other card effects. If you are the only player to control the Iron Throne, players cannot trigger response effects while the Iron Throne is standing. After a player wins a challenge, that player can choose to stand or kneel the Iron Throne. This card's, I think it's pretty good because you're taking out the ability to trigger responses as a whole. If it is knelt, it gives you and your opponent both the chance to control it by winning challenges, which means you'll probably, I don't know if you even want to be going first or second. It's going to depend on what your board state is. I think if you're building around this card, you go with less responses and less response effects in your deck than standard.
Which I just don't like. That's the one downside of this. I don't like the fact I have to design my deck around to get the most use out of it.
I think that's perfect card design. I think this versus Harrenhal. Harrenhal, you just slap in any deck and it's amazing. This card, you're gonna have to build your deck around, and it is going to be backbreaking to someone who is not prepared for it.
At the same time, though, I think you're also gimping yourself because there are a lot of really good responses in the game. I mean,
absolutely. Everyone has I don't know. I think a lot of deck choices you make end up gimping you in one way or another, as you put it.
But wouldn't you, if you do have a response in hand, you could kneel it yourself?
Yeah, you can choose. If I decide, like, on my military challenge, I want to be able to trigger my stuff at the end, I win my military challenge, I kneel my Iron Throne, then I can play my Die by the Sword, my No Quarters, and then I do my, say, Power Challenge, I win that, I can stand it back up, and all of a sudden my opponent has to win a challenge before they get to trigger effects.
It's super Nedley. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this represents Game of Thrones. This is, we're all fighting over the Iron Throne, which I think is fantastic.
I like that it really, I think this is a card that is going to put a big hurt on the low character count Martell decks, because as long as you keep it standing, they're not be able to trigger any of their effects. That was it, Burning on the Sands, Red Vengeance, all of those effects. They'll need to win a challenge before they'll be able to do any of those effects again. And then just to turn all those effects off again, all you gotta do is win a challenge against them.
Yeah.
And Earthstrike doesn't have King's Landing.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting.
So I think all the other Iron Thrones have King Landing trait.
They do. However, this one is, this one is the battle over the entirety of Westeros for the Iron Throne.
And also, I like the other Iron Thrones didn't cancel this one.
Yes, they do. All of them. This is if you're the only player
to
control
never mind.
the Iron Throne.
All
of the Iron Thrones have that text, which makes sense because there really is only one of them.
Yeah.
More so than anything else in the game.
Yep. All right, moving on. Sellsail Galley. This is a 1-cost neutral location or warship. It is prized 1. Response: after you win a challenge by 4 or more total strength, kneel Sellsail Galley to search your deck or discard pile for a character with a naval enhancement, reveal it and add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck if it was searched. I think Black Sails is coming back with a vengeance. I don't think it ever really went away, but I think we're seeing more and more support for it. It's going to make it powerful. Not unique. Put 3 of these into play. Go find your naval dudes every turn. Really, really good. I mean, this is generally an all-around good card. Greyjoy's going to love the hell out of it. You can go fetch Victorian Greyjoy. He's got naval icons. You can go get a lot of dudes that have naval, because Greyjoy's chock full of them. Asha Greyjoy. Do the Hammerhorn Raiders have?
No.
Okay, so they don't.
The new guy?
Yeah, the new guy who's in there. And winning a challenge by 4 or more total strength is seriously easy for Greyjoy. And if you're running a naval deck, it's generally easy for naval decks, too. I mean, I attack, and then I just naval in the giant boat, and I win the challenge by 4 or more total strength,
And I like that they did it neutral, so
any house can play it.
Yeah, it opens up the whole Black Sails to any house.
Snakes on a boat.
Yes,
Chris will go back to playing Snakes on a boat. No, I think it's a good card. I think it's some of the support Black Sails needs to stay competitive in the current game state. Unfortunately, it is a response, so you'll lose it to the Iron Throne. I think it's just an all-around well-designed card. Should it be prized 1? Maybe not, but that's fine.
It's such a fight, which is very. What do you think, Tree?
I don't like it. Honestly, I think it means you're going to be forced to overcommit to get your win by 4 or more, especially because it's not an event, so your opponent knows it's in play. They're going to say, oh, if I can throw enough chuds in, if I can chump block enough to get you down to only winning by 3, they're going to do it to stop you from your doing your search.
But then you're still winning the challenge and kneeling out their board. You're still getting a decent effect out of that.
But you have to overcommit to do.
You do with box cells anyways, because you have to win on a naval challenge. You can't just have a naval icon. You actually have to naval a dude in. So you're already overcommitting anyways. So
usually you're undercommitting and then navaling someone in to make it a proper challenge.
Yeah. Which
I think in this case you'll then be having to overcommit to get your win by 4 or more. I don't know. I think there's better effects to use for your location slots.
There you go. They lay with lions in a plot 4-2-1. Prize 1. When revealed, choose and kneel a non-prize character.
I love the art.
Again,
I keep saying it about a lot of these cards, but I love the artwork.
It's art is very cool.
Don't work with the Lannisters, you get hung.
I think the number-wise are okay. 4 gold is not bad. Giving out 1 power to kneel 1 dude.
A non-prize character. Important to remember. So
I don't know. I don't know if it's that of a that good for making.
We
my
know that
decks right now.
spot kneel is good. Like there's no arguing that being able to have that 1 turn where you can kneel at a dude is fantastic. For example, this hits the Red Viper where normally the Red Viper wouldn't be targetable by a lot of your kneel effects and stuff like that. I mean, it's just an example because he's one of the few characters in the game that's immune to just about everything, right? It doesn't obviously fit into a lot of decks because if you're running Lannister, obviously normally the go-to plot set for Lannister is cities, right? So if you move away from cities because you're going into just a control-y kind of plot phase, maybe this fits in. It's 4 gold, which is always good. Everybody always claims that Lannister can produce more gold than everybody else. I think most of us understand that's normally not the case. So getting 4 gold off a plot is always fantastic. The low initiative kind of sucks, but they had to balance it out a little bit. And again, we've already seen that giving your opponent power when they have none is useful. So I mean, you drop this on turn 2 maybe when you've already you're controlling the board, but they don't have any power on their house card. You kneel out a dude, and then you win a power challenge, and at least you have something to steal.
You think 2 would have been too much?
2 what?
Kneeling 2 guys? If they
absolutely. I think absolutely is.
That would have made it 2, bro.
I think kneeling your opponent's best non-prize character, which remember that the first 8 or 9 cycles of the game didn't have prize characters, so there's an awful lot of characters there. I think it's a strong effect. I think you can wheels within wheels into it to kneel a dude in any phase you want. I think it's a very strong effect.
So the
low initiative is kind of so-so, but I think that's where they balance this plot.
So there's a sleeper use for this too. We know Clansman's being revisited next cycle. Clansmans love to be knelt. And a lot of times when you play a Clansman deck, you're actually trying to find ways to get your dudes knelt out.
That's true. You can kneel your
and you can kneel your own Timid, so he can't die. And then,
wow.
So your opponent flips Valor, you flip this, you've won initiative. I'll kneel out my Timid, let your Valor fire. Timid can't die because he's knelt, and then now I've got my unkillable dude still on the board. So, think out of the box a little bit. Maybe it could be useful in some other type of stuff too. So, and then I think we should just group the next 3 together because
absolutely
they're all the same.
So we have a task in the east, a task for a king, and the Turncloak's tasks, collectively known as the tasks. So task in the east, they're all 3 of these plots are 3 gold, 5 initiative, and 1 claim. Those numbers are fairly decent. 3 gold's a little bit low, but the 5 initiative is 5. It's above average, and the 1 claim is the standard. So each of these, when they're revealed, have a different effect based on which house card you have. Task in the East says, if you have a House Targaryen card, search your deck for a Martell card. If you have a Martell house card, search your deck for a Greyjoy card. Reveal that card and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. Task for a King says, if you have a Lannister card, search for a Baratheon. If you have a Lannister house card, search for a Baratheon card. If you have a Baratheon house card, search for a Stark card. Turncloak's task says, if you have a Stark house card, search your deck for a Lannister card. If you have a Greyjoy house card, search for a Targaryen card. I think as a whole, these kind of... Maybe they play into some of the dual faction characters so that you can, if you're running them in a single house deck, they look like they're kind of trying to push towards multiple house decks, but I'm not fully seeing that.
I think the task for the king would be the one that might be played outside of what you're saying because as a Lannister you could get the girl. So you have multiple cards with Baratheon double.
Yeah, you have the House Tyrell cards.
Yeah, Marjorie Tyrell. people
Marjorie,
like that, yeah.
you could get. If you're playing Starks, you could get the.
If you're playing Baratheon, you can get the Ned. You can go get the Ned Stark that is cheaper, has less gold penalty. When
and
he's
you
in
can
a
get
Brienne. Brienne, yeah.
Brienne is good.
One-sided search is always good. Like, we already know this. You never want to give your opponent tutor. Again, I think these cards may become more playable in the next cycle when you may splash that 4-cost character out of house into that particular deck, and then he gets reduced by 2 because of the agenda, and then you pay the gold penalty, which puts him back up to 4. So now you're paying his full cost, which is fine. You're not paying 6 gold for a 4-cost character. So I mean, as a Lannister player, I've toyed around with decks that are basically all the Lannister nobles and then some of the Baratheon nobles thrown in. So maybe I use this to go get Bob, or I use it to go get one of the other noble characters that I would play in that kind of style deck. So just I can get them into my hand that much quicker. But
I will say, as a whole, these are somewhat deadly cards. Just because it's very intentional what house cards grab what things. The art on them, I think, is fairly cool, and is at least fairly cool what it's representing. Task for the King is Ned and Robert. Basically, it's when Robert asks Ned to be the hand of the king while they're down in the crypts. Turncloak's task is Reek amongst the various Frey characters, doing basically searching someone out in Winterfell. And task in the east is Quentin Martell in a place he really shouldn't be.
Yep.
That's in the books.
Note that there's a dragon behind him.
Yes.
Oh.
So I want to say one thing about this pack. We know there's a lot of good artists that work at FFG. In my opinion, this is probably one of the most beautiful packs we've seen from the game since I've been playing. We get a lot of good cards, but I think quantity-wise, this is probably one of the best artwork design packs we've seen in a while. So all right, so this is the end of the cycle. I think it was a pretty good cycle for the introduction of Prized. I feel like the mechanic is just like maybe Naval in the sense that this is our first taste of it, and I want to see what they're really going to develop down the road.
I'm glad to see that the doom and gloom people were talking about Prized at the start of the game, at the start of this phase, or at the start of this cycle, is not true. Prize cards are seeing play. They're powerful effects. Some of the prizes, it's not perfect because it's on some characters that maybe shouldn't be. It's higher numbers or lower numbers than it should be on some cards. But as a whole, it's being played, it's being used both as a positive and a negative thing.
Well, I think the only unfortunate side effect we've seen is that, Prize was originally presented to us as being this mechanic that allows us to balance very powerful cards, right? And unfortunately, some of the cards we've seen coming up that are stupidly powerful don't have Prize at all on them. So it makes you wonder, in the back of the house at FFG, what their decision process is for what cards get prized and what cards don't, because what is really considered a very game powerful effect from their eyes that we may be seeing go, oh, that's nothing, but on the flip side, they go, oh, that character doesn't deserve prize at all, but we look at that and go, oh my god, how the hell did that make it through, without prize on it? So it's going to be interesting to see how much they embrace the mechanic going forward, because, it was supposed to be that mechanic that allows them to allow power creep into the game, but power creep in a sense of there's a significant penalty for doing it. And Damon even touched on this during the interview from, Gen Con. He said that's exactly why we created Prize, was so we could put these powerful effects into the game, but give you a penalty to running them. Yeah. So. And
also, I was telling, I think it was Tree, from, let's say, the last 2 cycles, they were nice. There's a couple of good cards, but they didn't have that much of an impact in the game. This cycle did. Yeah.
Previous to this, this cycle and the last compared to some of the previous ones.
This cycle is going to be memorable down the road. We're like, oh yeah, remember when Prize first came out? It was a turning point to the game. It opened a big window or opportunity, like Andrew was saying, to bring these powerful cards into the game. And I think all around, I think FFG did a great job with it. Yes, this, like we were saying right now, there'll be cards that we like, oh, there should have been more or less, or what you're thinking about. I think all around they did a good job.
Yeah.
The game.
So the real question is, are we going to get a month break between cycles? So it'll be interesting to see. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So we could see the next pack
more cards
in September, which if that's the case, we'll get 2 packs before Worlds. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. We've been talking about doing a spoilers video for some of the upcoming stuff. So
hopefully we'll try to record one soon.
We can get something out from the next cycle. So yeah.
Yeah, if we do the spoilers, it's going to be hard because somebody here is having a baby daughter. Someone's gonna be a dad.
I will be here to do videos at the very least. I might be not doing gameplay for a while, but I'll make the I'll be helping out with the unboxing videos. Mike and Jesus are both going to Worlds. I may or may not be joining them, so look for them there. Hopefully Jesus will have T-shirts ready by then.
So. Yes, 100% yes.
But yeah, so look forward to more content on the channel. We're going to be bringing you some Warhammer Conquest as well coming up.
Yes.
As well as more Netrunner, more Star Wars coverage, and stuff like that. So,
okay, guys, thank you for joining us. See ya.
Have a good day.
See ya.